The human body is like a house. As it gets older, cracks appear and things keep falling out of the attic. 40 Anonymous by Irma Bombeck. Read by Karl. This country is extremely age conscious. That's why a new group has been formed called 40 Anonymous to help people overcome the problem. Here's how it works. Several months before reaching age 40, birthdayees are invited to a group therapy program. There's a 10-minute film where Doris Day wrinkles her nose, moistens her lips, and smiles, "I'm over 40 and I still have all my own freckles," just to get the audience in a perceptive mood. Then a testimonial is given. The one I heard was from Sylvia X. "I'm over 40, she said with a faltering voice. Applause. "A few months ago I was depressed and morose and thought life was not worth living. I got a chill when the furnace blower went on. I refused to eat apples even though I had my own teeth. I nipped at Geritol in the mornings after the kids went to school. I sent sympathy cards to myself and refused to start any long novels. A friend suggested I come to a 40 anonymous meeting. That night I heard Senator Thurmond speak. He was wonderful. I went home and practiced saying 40 in front of the mirror. I thought I was cured. Then one night I went to a party. Everyone there was under 30. It was terrible. No one knew the verse to Shine on Harvest Moon. They never heard of Lao Tablets or Maria Montez. When I said okie dokie, they laughed. I went berserk that night and grew a mustache and an advertiser from Mod Squad. A member of 40 Anonymous found me throwing rocks at a rock festival. Get hold of yourself, he said. Just say out loud, I'm 40. I can't do it, I cried. You can, he challenged. It's no use, I said. This world is only for the youth. Everyone around me is younger than I am. My doctor carries his stethoscope in his gym bag. My attorney has to shave only once a week. My son's math teacher is still wearing braces. I rode a plane the other day with training wheels on it. Good man, don't you understand? I'm older than Mickey Mouse. Sylvia's voice broke. Today I'm proud to say I've learned to live with my problem one day at a time. Applause. That night I stood in front of my mirror and said, my name is Irma X and I don't look it, but I'm... Some days I look... Last year It was no use. I called 40 Anonymous. Sylvia came over and had a drink with me. Actually, 40, or any other age, wouldn't be so hard to face were it not for the current trend of restaurants making a fuss over birthdays. This ranges anywhere from a drum roll and house lights to a waitresses with headbands and underways charging at you with a cupcake and a sparkler on top. I've warned my family if they ever inflict a public birthday on me, I will impale myself on a flaming skewer. After age 12, birthdays should be as private as hernia surgery. After all, they're as personal. Philosophers and poets may be cute as they like about middle age, but the question remains, what begins at 40? Your laugh lines turn to wrinkles. A dimple in your knees and elbows fill in. You need glasses to read billboards. You find yourself listening to every word of the commercials on motel management. When you at last figure your teenagers are old enough to be told about sex, you forget what it was you weren't supposed to tell them until they're old enough to be told. If I sound bitter, it's because I'm going through a phase of middle age known as the didn't we go to school together syndrome. It begins on the eve of your 40th birthday, continues until no one wants to claim you as a contemporary. I've never had so many bold, punching individuals that cost me and invite me to remember the good old days. And those are the women. The other night at a restaurant, a Sunday City freshman stopped by our table and said, remember we were in cooking class together. I looked up, shocked. This woman was in cooking class. Fire hadn't been invented yet. It's Edna Summinger, isn't it? She persisted. And you used to write for the school paper? You're thinking of Edna St. Vincent Millay, I said stiffly. No, he said. Your hair is a different color. Your teeth look different. You're wearing glasses to carry a little more weight, but I'd know you anywhere. What gave me away? I asked my husband after she left. The way your eyes lit up when the orchestra played Beer Barrel Polka. It's occasions like that make you swear off high school reunions. If you're keeping track, I've just gone to my last one. It's not fair to all those balding, aging, dissipated, frumpy, flabby, graying people running around trying to look cheerful when I look so great. Found myself walking up to classmates saying, what happened? Take poor Clara, what's her name? Her memory is shot. She went around all night calling me Ernie. Serves it right from running old Charlie. Wasn't Hurley what's his face? And as for poor Iris Pick, I couldn't wait for her. Has 3 children, bang, bang, bang. To drive her out of her tree. Luckily, my 3 are space better. The real shocker was our the valedictorian, Enos Erdl. She was absolutely out of it. If the president had been there, she would have gone up and asked, "What are you doing these days?" I told her I'd give him my copy of Peyton Place when I'd finished reading it. If anyone had told me my best girl friend Wanda White would be nearly white-haired, I wouldn't have believed it. My wig nearly fell off when I saw her. Everyone would say that my old boyfriend, Leroy Catch, was positively prehistoric. Couldn't find my glasses at the bottom of my handbag to see for myself, but I couldn't imagine they would lie. So I told my husband on the way home, "It's incredible to think some of our classmates are grandparents." "I know," he said quietly. "Do you know what that means?" I asked. "It means someone had to have children when they were mere babies of 25, he said. "It's funny about the teachers," I commented. "Miss Cravett just looked just 70 years old when I had her for social studies. Today she only looked about 50. Be quiet. Anything wrong?" Never news came up with a mouthful of false teeth. I nearly dropped my partial. "Couldn't you cry for them?" I said sadly. Poor devils fighting middle age. We shouldn't have gone, but I wanted to see them all again before they got too old to appreciate me. People do approach milestones in their own particular way. On my husband's 40th birthday, he locked himself in his bedroom with a copy of Playboy magazine and had made an obscene phone call to Ted Mack. That's the way 40th birthdays are. I knocked on the door and pleaded, "Why don't you come out and show us your presents? I want to see what the kids got you." The door opened a crack and he said, "Come in." "I know they got you a bottle of hair cream," I said, "but what kind? Torment? Show no mercy? Shameless interlude?" "No," he said, shaking his head vigorously. "What then? Frankly intimate? Sex top for pop?" "Let me say it's something I can handle," he said, clearing his throat nervously. "Not one of the things you have to fight your way on and off buses with, is it? Or karate chop your own mother?" "I know what I'm doing," he said. As he scooped his boxes, tissue and ribbon up in his arms, the box of hair cream fell to the floor. I picked it up and read the name. Resignation Hair Cream. With a small letters below it claimed, "For the matter is everything but hair. No sexy aroma. No tantalizing softness to run your hands through. No double takes from girls on the beach. This just keeps your head from getting chapped." "I guess it's all the kids could buy without a prescription," I alibied. "I guess so," he replied softly. He moped around for several months after that. Then along came the football season and George Blanda. For all of you who think football is a winter replacement for the summer reruns, George Blanda is the world's oldest quarterback. He's 44 years old. At the time of his life, when he should be sitting in the stands with a thermos of hot chicken soup, he's sparking the Oakland Raiders to some unbelievable victories. Well, I can't begin to tell you what George Blanda did for my husband. When George kicked a 48-yard field goal against Kansas City for a tie, my husband kicked up his lap robe, he was sitting in the living room by the fire, and said, "Take someone all drugs to the garbage can and back." When George kicked a 52-yard field goal to win the game with Cleveland 23-20, my husband kicked his Geritol bottle 32 feet into the air. When Blanda whipped out a 20-yard touchdown pass with only seconds to go to beat Denver 24-19, my husband ambled to the living room and announced loudly, "I'm doing it with support host of Goodwill." George Blanda was Lydia Pinkham to my husband. Then a new neighbors moved next door and we were back to where we started. "What are they like?" I asked as he came back across the lawn. "Young," he snarled. "How young?" "He can still get his car in the garage." "What about his wife?" "She was waxing the garden hose." "What did you talk about?" "Don't ask. I made a mistake of telling him I was in the Army. He said his grandfather was World War II and they studied at Wharton College. I tell you, it's incredible. You ever heard of Victory Gardens? With Senator Joe McCarthy, Glenn Miller, The Twist, Ozzie and Harriet, the Brooklyn Dodgers, or Fred Allen? It won't be easy. Do they have any children?" "No," he said. He and his wife decided not to have any, view of the fact they were concerned with overpopulation and, what do you call it? Clumping out? No, ecology. Do they play bridge? No, he said it was frivolous in his time of involvement, when everything else needed his attention. I don't want to frighten you, but I think he's going to take sex education out of the home and put it out and about where it belongs. She's a feminist who's going to pick the Avon lady. What do you do for kicks? I think I sit around and watch each other's hair grow. You're being unkind. We were that young once. I was born older than they are, he sulked. Well, I remember the first time my grandmother met you, I said. When you turned your back, she said to me, it's a funny lucky thing, but when it grows hair, it might look all right. I had a burr haircut. It was the style, he shouted. I know. If we didn't know anything about Tom Mix, Will Rogers, the League of Nations, the Cakewalk, Gene Fowler, and the Rio Runabout. I suppose you're right, he sighed. When people start moving next to you who've never heard of Fred Allen, there goes the neighborhood, I said sadly. On my 40th birthday, my family chipped in and bought me a tennis racket. I don't wish to sound ungrateful, but this is like buying the Pope a Musketeer beanie. When are you going to use it? The kids kept clamoring. When it snows, and I get another racket to put on the other foot, I said. Truth is, I never care for sports that take me away from the table. Besides, I tire easily and tend to black out when I spend an evening licking green stamps. But these obstacles were small compared to the prejudice I encountered when I ventured to the tennis courts with my brand new racket and my old body. There was no evidence to suggest this, but I have a feeling new tennis rackets secrete an odor detected within a 50-mile radius by experienced tennis players. The moment you appear, men in white shorts hurry towards their cars. Women in white tennis dresses sniff the air and mumble something about burning dinner, and even small people playing their bare feet back off and say, I think I hear my mother calling. I found one young man trying to scale the fence and said, Would you like to play a game? Have you ever played tennis before, he asked. No. What gave me away? Your sweatband. You don't wear it to the armpits. But that is where you wear it around the wrist. Listen, I gotta go. Some other time. And next night, I went down again, and this time collared a 12-year-old girl who tripped and fell as the rest of the players ran for the courts to their cars. What am I doing wrong? I asked. First, you don't get a new suit if you hit the ball over the big fence. That's baseball. Next, you don't get an extra point if you hit the drinking fountain. And take the press off your racket when you play. During the next few weeks, I worked like a demon to shake the new racket stigma, playing with anyone I could trap. The other day, I ambled on all the courts, and there was this tired-looking housewife in pedal pushers and a Howard Hughes sweatshirt. Have you ever played tennis before? I asked. She shook her head. How can you tell? You don't wear a sweatband around your ankle, dear. I gotta go. I had the timer on my stove going off. Actually, my physical shape isn't the only thing that bothers me about my twilight years. Scientists in California figured that every day after 35, the adult loses 100,000 brain cells, which affect thinking and memories. My kids would argue this loss is considerably higher than that. Since age 35, I haven't had an original thought, done anything significant, and while others were making giant steps for mankind, I was making giant steps with the garbage. To prove to you this is not an idle observation, I took the trouble to keep a diary for an entire week, during which time I scientifically dropped 700,000 brain cells. Monday. 12-year-old working on English assignment asked me who the Earl of Sandwich was. When I suggested he was the one who always carried his lunch to the castle, 12-year-old shook his head and said, I'll call up one of the guys. Tuesday. Reached a high level of incompetence by absentmindedly pouring powdered milk in dishwasher dispenser. Daughter suggested the companion sit with me all day until Dad could relieve her in the evening. Wednesday. Heard a suspicious rattle in the car. Drove in a service station where they discovered an aerosol can of de-icer rolling around near my spare tire. I am permitted to drive now only if accompanied by a teenager. Thursday. Was called upon to determine the sex of our hamster, which I did without hesitation, claiming no mating was possible. Male hamster is now in maturity tops. Friday. Missed taking my discarded chicken innards from the freezer and putting them in garbage, thus bringing the total of chicken innards in my freezer to 320 pounds. Saturday. Mental deterioration noted as someone mentioned having a paternity suit, and I said I hope they didn't catch on because I don't have the legs to wear them. Sunday. Family found me laughing hysterically over Tom Jones singing I Who Have Nothing. Father's family saw no humor in it and concluded I should be sent to a church camp. Science of California is onto something. He's already figured out the brain drain is caused by aging, impaired circulation, and other causes. He has not figured out why 35 is the magic year for the start of the breakdown. Even in the prime of my senility, I figured that one out. At 35, most parents launch their first teenager. After that, Professor, it's Bananas-ville all the way. As far as my memory is concerned, it was as I was telling my husband, what's his name, got this thing about my memory. Why, he asked. Why what? Why do you have to do something about your memory? Oh, I don't know. Little things have been getting by me lately, like letting the insurance policy lapse and forgetting Christmas the way I did, and the humiliating thing that happened to me at the airport last week. What humiliating thing, he asked, putting that in his paper. Well, I was saying goodbye to your sister when I saw this man smiling at me. It looked so familiar, I wasn't sure I knew him. So I just couldn't put a name to him. Somebody saved, I ran over and grabbed his hand, pumped his head. Gosh, it's good to have you home again. We've all missed you. As soon as you settle, call and we'll get together for dinner. What's the matter with that? There's a car coming home. I remember who he is. He's Mr. Whitlock, the man who cleans our septic tank every year. It can happen to anyone, he said, sympathetically. I suppose so. But ever since I took a memory quiz that appears in the paper last week, I've been real concerned. What quiz? It's good to know someone else has a memory. Don't you remember? It's the article I clipped out just before you got the paper. Here it is. 1. When you can't remember where you parked your car in town, do you A, have total recall of your make of car, serial number, license plates, or B, take a bus home and pretend it doesn't matter? 2. At class reunion, do you A, use the associative method to remember names, i.e. he used Harry and Paunchy, ergo his name is Harry Paunchy, or B, do you squint it at name tags upside down and say, Ner Mott, long time no see? 3. Do you A, have specific places for your sewing basket, office equipment, cleaning supplies, and cooking utensils? Or B, are you content to put in hems with band-aids and take down phone messages using a cuticle stick on wax paper? 4. Do you A, keep tabs on your grocery shopping list by remembering its contents? Or B, do you have to mark it by forcing a 12-year-old to sit in the basket in a fetal position? 5. Do you A, always remember the age, sex, name, and grades of your children? Or B, do you have to stop and count backward or forward the year you got the cat? 6. Do you A, always repeat the name of the person you're introduced to? Or B, repeatedly look perplexed and say, Abigail who? 7. Do you A, always make a note in your checkbook of the amount of your check and whom it was made at the time you were writing the check? Or B, do you say to yourself we do it later when you're not in such a hurry? You know what I think the problem is, I said, of folding the paper? I share my house with 4 disorganized people. It isn't easy trying to keep everything in place with everything going in separate directions. For example, the other day I opened the tea canister and some clown had put tea in it. That's wrong, asked my husband. That's wrong, I shouted. So where's my rice now? And speaking of boots, do you know how long it took me to find the kids' boots the other morning? I can't imagine. Just because some ding-dong took them out of the soft drink cooler in the garage and didn't put them back. I suppose I could be like Doris you-know-who. You mean my sister? Yes. She's so organized she makes me sick. I was in the house the other day and she had a pad and pencil right next to the phone. Can you imagine that? When she wants needles, she doesn't have to have kids rinse out the carpets in their bare feet. She keeps them in a package with a thread. The needles, not the kids. And here's the zinger. She gives the car keys and a little hook in the ticker room so she always knows where they are. Oh well, what can you expect from a woman who numbers her checks consecutively? Don't you keep your car keys in the same spot, he asked. Are you kidding? If it weren't for looking for my car keys, I'd never know where anything is. Take the other day. I was looking for the keys in the trunk of the car where I always leave them and found my new sweeper bags. When I went to put the sweeper bags on the broom closet shelf, I found my rain hat, which I hadn't seen in 2 years. When I went to put the cat in the coat closet, I discovered my checkbook, which had been missing. While returning the checkbook to the stove drawer where it belongs, guess what? They were the scissors I had been searching for during the last week. I returned the scissors to the bookcase, where I hid them from the kids, I found my dental appointment, which I've been using for the bookmark. I always keep my dental appointment in my jewelry box, so I went out, dropped it in there, and lo and behold, there was the freezer key. And where are your car keys? Asked my husband. Well, if you can't find yours either, I sighed. Maybe I'm not as bad as I thought. Minutes later, the phone rang. As I replaced the receiver, I said, "Hey, guess who's coming to dinner Saturday? Wilma and Leroy Whitlock. You want to give me a hint?" "Who are they?" The end.